Well, Your Honor, this is about a woman who was some kind of witch. Witches make brews. That's illegal.
Living with Alan turned out to be an insane nightmare. He sat on the couch surrounded by his trash, his toenail clippings, and all of us locked ourselves in our rooms and we peed in buckets in order to avoid going past him.
This is such nonsense.
Plaintiff Alan Brody says he should have seen trouble brewing when he learned his former roommate is a witch. He's suing for $1,500 for rent, utilities, and missing property. Defendant Brenda denies the plaintiff's allegations and is countersuing for $5,000 for rent, pest control fees, and the return of her security
The
deposit.
testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. The Honorable Judge Jerry Springer now presiding. Good morning, Judge.
Good morning. How are you, Najee?
I'm doing well, Judge. Thank you.
Good.
This is case number 131 on the docket, Brody versus Fazio.
Welcome to both of you. Let's see what we have here. We have the plaintiff, Alan Brody, and you are suing your former roommate, Brenda Fazio, for $1,500 for what you say is unpaid rent, personal property, and utility bills. And you, Brenda, are countersuing him for $5,000 for half of 6 months' rent, security deposit, and pest control fees. So, Alan, start with you. What is your case?
Well, Your Honor, this is about a woman who I helped. She was in a desperate situation. She needed a place to stay. And I took her into my oversight. I had a big apartment.
Yes.
I needed a roommate. Even though she had a challenged past, a lurid past, you might say, even though she was some kind of witch or a Wiccan.
You're saying she's
Apparently.
a witch?
However,
a Wiccan? Yeah.
Because it turned out that she had the same birth date as my late wife. And I felt that it was almost a fatal situation that I had to help her. So I brought her into the apartment, took her on a month-to-month basis at $1,200 a month. I helped her get a job, helped represent her to Child Services so she could get custody of her son. We were friends.
You were going to move in with your son?
Yes.
Right.
Right. So the
So
apartment,
basically, he's a son of a witch.
you could say that.
I see what you did there.
You could say that. We even double dated. I introduced her to one of my friends. She needed some legal advice. One of them was a lawyer. I helped with that. And her way of thanking me at the end was to cheat me out of $1,000 worth of rent, utilities, and an insane letter that she wrote to my daughter accusing me of cyber crimes and in a profane manner. So I'm here to recover that money.
You're saying you were renting her, what, 2 rooms, 1 room?
Yeah, so
Well, yeah, I said 2 or 1. Which
well, it
one?
was 2 rooms, but the point is she never used the third, she only used 1 room. So
But what was she paying rent for?
she was paying $1,200 for two rooms.
2 rooms.
The understanding was the second room would be for her son, unless my daughter came to visit, which almost
Yeah.
never happened. So as it turned out, she never used that other room. She stayed in 1 room with her son. And so I said, you know what? I know it's hard for you to pay the rent. How about we rent that other room out, and that would lower your rent. So we rented that room out. We split the savings, and I dropped her rent from $1,200 a month to $800. Plus, she paid $50 towards utilities, so it was $850 a month. So I covered for her, and we moved the other roommate into what had been her room. And this went fine until COVID came along. And when COVID came along, the second roommate, who we never really saw, couldn't pay rent, which meant that we were both on the hook. And the landlord only agreed to defer the rent for $1,000 until COVID was over. But when we discovered that the third roommate was now involved in driving COVID patients around, I realized I couldn't be around. That was much too dangerous. Sure. So I took off to go in the country to be out of it, thinking that this would last maybe a week or 2 weeks. When I realized that this was going to stay on for a long time, I called Brenda and said, hey, Brenda, would you like to take over the apartment, move into my room? And she jumped at the idea.
How much was the rent for the whole apartment?
$3,000.
$3,000 a month. Now let me hear from you.
Not a Wiccan, I'm Buddhist. I Anyway.
Okay. Yeah.
Living with Alan as a roommate turned out to be an insane and traumatic nightmare, if you will. I found Alan, like you said, off of a Craigslist ad where he was looking to move into a 3-bedroom apartment and he needed roommates. And I needed to find a place that would accept a child, which is very difficult.
Sure.
So we looked at the apartment and we signed a lease agreement that I would take 2 bedrooms, one for myself, one for my son, for $1,200. He brought in so much stuff that I never had access to the bedroom for my son. It was filled with his belongings. Every single surface of all of the common areas was packed with his belongings,
Do we
and
have
I
pictures?
submitted photos.
Yeah, can we take a look at those pictures? Okay.
You can see every single surface of every inch of the common area had his belongings everywhere.
And why is that taped shut?
He had so much food in there, and he wouldn't throw any of the old freezer burnt stuff away. After a few months,
Oh, wait, whoa.
yeah. Well,
Was that the 3rd roommate?
4th, 5th, and 6th too.
Those are those dead mice?
Yes, yes.
Oh. What?
He was so disgusting with filth everywhere, dirty dishes
It
everywhere.
even killed the mice.
Food scraps were always in the sink, greasy pans were always in the kitchen. So naturally, we got an infestation.
Just as a human being, why would you stay?
I had to have a place to stay
Well, I
until I
understand
saved
that.
up
There
money. As a single mom, I was saving money to move.
And there was nothing else.
There was,
I mean,
yeah, I was just saving and saving.
And your kid was
saving.
still with you?
Yes. We
Okay.
all felt so uncomfortable with him and how dirty everything was and how uncomfortable he made us feel that all of us locked ourselves in our rooms and we literally peed in buckets in order to avoid going through the common area past him.
This is such nonsense that I can only tell you.
Well, we saw, I mean, there are pictures there. I'm
But
sure
the
she didn't grab the mouse and put it there.
Okay, the mice were all in her part of the apartment. The reason why I brought up the fact that she's a Wiccan or whatever she is because witches make brews. And to make brews, you need ingredients. And she had ingredients coming out of the wazoo. I have a picture of all this, of the ingredients that she had. She occupied the entire dining room with her ingredients, her mixtures, her kids' toys. She had her own refrigerator. The mice were in her part of the apartment. That's our dining room.
What is all those
That's
boxes?
the stuff that overflowed from her bedroom into the dining room.
That's actually our first roommate's
Yeah.
stuff. That's not my stuff.
I gave her, well, that's how much space her stuff took. I gave her the entire dining room. I said, just take it, it's yours. Just put a screen it off. And the mice were coming out from that area of the apartment next to her room and her witch's brews. She made elixirs, she made soap. She has a book of ingredients, of spells that she makes. They'll make you feel happy, they'll make you feel excited. I don't know what she did,
Well, I'll
but
go
she
for happy
needed
and
stuff.
excited. What can I get you? I'm paying.
I'll pass, Judge.
Okay.
He sat on the couch every minute of every day that he was awake, surrounded by his papers, his trash, his toenail clippings on the ground, his food scraps everywhere. And we were just like, it was very uncomfortable and just to walk past or through all of that. And, you know, yes, he says he moved out. He left all his possessions there. I didn't have access to the bedroom because his stuff was there. He didn't leave his stuff to benefit anybody. He was too lazy to get people to move it into storage. He's gaslighting people. Everything he does is to benefit himself. It's never like, I did so much for you. That's all gaslighting. He was breaking in.
She locked me out of the apartment. She changed the locks with all my stuff in there.
The landlord actually seen that he had replaced the lock with a digital lock that the landlord did not approve. The landlord put the original lock set back on, which he had a key to. He came back to get his stuff. He didn't try his key. He didn't knock on the door, ring a doorbell, text somebody. He busted in the doors. I had to call the landlord and say, I'm sorry, he broke in. This happened 3 times. The landlord had to replace the lock set because he kept.
Why not just call the landlord?
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Yeah.
He had a key.
First of all, it's illegal to change the locks in New York City. That's number one. They didn't tell me they were changing the locks. That lock was fine for a year. The digital lock that I put in there served everyone for a year. She changed the locks to keep me out. That's illegal. No one told me. I knocked on the door to see what's this new lock doing here?
Well, well, if you knocked on the door, why wouldn't someone answer who was home?
Yeah.
He didn't knock on the door.
Excuse me. The roommate answered, and he said to me, you can't come in. I go, what are you talking about? I'm responsible for this apartment. I'm on the lease. What are you telling me? And he would not allow me to come into the apartment. So I pushed the door open, and he tried to kill me. He grabbed me by the throat. And I had to push him out the way. Then I called the landlord and said, why did they change the locks on me? And the landlord said, he told him, you cannot change the locks. I said, you must restore the lock that I put in there that we've been using for a year.
He did restore the original lock.
My
the
lock.
landlord
You were
put
using that
the
lock for a year. You had no
in.
problem for a year until you couldn't pay that rent, and so you changed the locks, which is illegal.
Why was your stuff still in there if you had moved out?
Because
How is she going to rent the apartment if your stuff is there?
I had to come from the country and clear all my personal stuff out of the bedroom.
So your bedroom was clean, you're saying?
Well, I took out all the furniture.
Yeah.
There was some scraps. I mean, I couldn't get everything out. I had a short amount of time.
How am I supposed to move into your room if your room is full of your crap?
Your counter suing for $5,000 for half of 6 months' worth of rent because you never had access to the second bedroom. That's $3,700.
Yes.
I have from the defendant a pretty clear record of every single monthly payment.
I was never, ever, ever late on a rent payment. He admitted I paid $800 a month for rent, and I paid $50 per month for the utilities.
Your Honor, what I'm claiming are the carpets that she kept in her room to muffle the sound because she was going back where she would be among neighbors. And she needed my carpets, plus my air conditioning unit, which was stuck on the wall. I didn't take that out in the middle of summer. And my bidet, which I didn't have the opportunity to take out because she locked the doors on me. That's what I'm claiming. And the 3 carpets that she put back, and these are heirloom carpets, which she used as sound mufflers.
And he gave me permission to throw away, so I did.
No,
I want to see the...
I gave you permission to throw away junk. I didn't give you permission to throw away heirloom carpets. There's a difference.
I don't want to touch your possessions. Your stuff is here. He gave me a text in writing, which I also submitted to the court.
Which item is it?
That I could throw those items away. I tell him I don't want to throw away any of your possessions. And I have pictures of
here it is.
So he sees exactly what he left
All right,
in the
I'm
bedroom.
looking at that now.
Okay.
Are these his possessions?
Those are all his possessions in the room that I was going to take.
She sent you, I have it in front of me,
Right.
the text she sent to you, which are pictures of your possessions.
Well, some of my possessions.
Yeah, and she says, I don't want to throw away any of your possessions.
Correct.
You say to her, you can, except for the papers, of course. All right, so that part of the suit, in terms of your possessions, I'm dropping that. That $500 I'm dropping.
Your Honor, if I may say.
I'm dropping it because she asked and you gave her permission to throw it out.
She presented a picture of scraps. The things that I'm claiming were she took out of the living room area.
Where is your text saying, I'd like to get my carpet or whatever else you're talking about?
No, I did. I said after the fact, after she locked me out, I said, hey, you've got these other possessions, the rugs that you took. Can I have them back?
If a court is going to make a decision on each of these items, I have to have some proof that you specifically requested to have at some point, even when you saw that it was only the things in the picture or whatever, at some point saying, I want to have those carpets back.
I understand.
If you have that, great. If not, I can't rule on that.
I submitted our entire text thread that we ever ever had to the court so that they would literally see every single conversation between us.
She responded with that crazy letter, which she actually sent, one she sent to me and one she sent to my daughter, accusing me of cyber crimes.
He sent me 7 requests in 2 hours, requesting $1,400
Because-
from Venmo. Actually, it ended up to, I believe, $2,200.
Right, these are the
because
claims.
he was over-focused on it. He couldn't, like, he was obsessing over it, so he just kept sending me money requests, money requests, money requests on the same day, minutes apart.
What is the letter that you wrote to his daughter?
This is dated July 8th. He said, I hope you're doing well. I don't mean to cause problems, but please do a mental health intervention for your dad. I'm sure you're aware of his hoarding, which derives from his other mental illnesses. You're the only one who might be able to reach him. He has committed some pretty big felony crimes, which FBI is involved because he hacked a bank account and stole $2,700, which is a cyber crime. And he's stalking us and trying to hack into our accounts.
Got it.
This is to my daughter. You're talking to a witch here who basically...
No, what is this name called? Okay, let's...
Because,
let's
Your
stop
Honor,
it.
we both had lots of stuff. She was
All right.
messed up the house the same way, but she's asking me, she's suing me for stuff that I had no control over. It's her doing. She makes it sound like she had a pristine apartment. Are you kidding me?
That's my apartment now. Doesn't it look amazing now that he's gone? And that's my dog.
Okay, that looks pretty clean, you gotta admit. You sued for $1,500. For 6 months, she was paying rent that she had every reason to believe included 2 rooms. And she only had use of 1 room. And for the whole period of time that she was there, until she got to be on the lease in June, for the whole time, your stuff was there. So
Yeah,
she is entitled to paying rent for just 1/2 for those 6 months, for 1 room and not 2. On your suit, you simply get to keep her security deposit, which is what, $1,250. On your suit, for 6 months, you are asking for $3,700 for, which would be half of the 6 months that you didn't have access to the 2nd bedroom. For the plaintiff, the case is dismissed. For the defendant in the countersuit, I find for $3,700.
Thank you, Your Honor, so much. I wish you would quit lying about me, of course, and telling everybody that I was poor and I was a witch and all of these things that are not true, but it is just character to make himself feel better, so.
I said she was a witch, and she bewitched him.
I guess making homemade soap makes me a good witch, but I'm actually Buddhist.
Hey YouTube, thanks for watching. For more Judge Jerry, click here. For more Jerry Springer, click here.